Hey YouTube, Joyboy here. So today I want to talk about absolutely huge foreshadowing that I believe the vast majority of Boku no Hero readers missed. And so basically what this is this was a theory that could have been made, but as far as I'm aware, wasn't. And for sure, I do not believe that it gained in popularity. Now, of course, hindsight is 20/20, and it's easy to say when looking back what should have been the obvious thoughts, but I think that beyond just reiterating here what is the truth and looking at the little clues that led up to the truth, I think it's important to note how exactly we could have interpreted the evidence within the story to basically make a correct theory so that we can replicate that and do that again for other mysteries that are not yet currently solved. But anyway, huge spoiler warning for this particular video. If you do not read the manga, then don't watch this video unless you want to be spoiled. But today we want to talk about how exactly we could have come to the conclusion about what Himiko Toga's powers were a good 30 chapters before it was actually officially introduced, and for sure we should have been 100% certain about 10 chapters before her powers were officially introduced. But let's start off with the obvious. As of chapter 114 in Boku no Hero, it was revealed that Himiko Toga's powers are that she consumes the blood of someone and then is able to take on their form. This was actually hinted the very first chapter that she was introduced, where she says, "I want to become the great Staney. I want to kill Staney, so come on, let me join, Tamura." Now, by this line alone, there's no way that you could accurately predict conclusively what her powers would be, but it's really the first clue. And so when reading this, you're supposed to believe that she's essentially insane, because the two things that she says does not add up together. I want to become Staney, I want to kill Staney, two disjointed thoughts, and Shigaraki emphasizes this in the panel just below there where he questions her sanity. But more evidence was added to this a little bit later, where essentially she's fighting Ochako and Asui, and basically says this: you want to be the same as the guy you like, it's only natural. So you wear all of the same things, but then you start not taking the same satisfaction as before, and you start wanting to straight up become that person. There's just no helping it. This is the second time that Toga has specifically referenced becoming someone, and at this point, it's enough evidence for you to start thinking, okay, what is this? Well, how can this possibly make sense? It's impossible to straight up become someone, so she's saying she wants to be like someone, but in this very same line, she states that being like someone isn't enough, that eventually you want to become them, so dressing like them and acting like them will not satisfy her. And even aside from that, she doesn't act at all like Staney, even though she states that she wants to become Staney. So there's gotta be something more here. That's at least what you should have been reading at the time. And it's important that shortly after this scene, Ochako and Tsuyu basically say that she never revealed her quirk, which is the author's hint here that she hasn't, and that her quirk is in some way important. So I really think, based on just these two lines by themselves, it was very possible to deduce that her powers in some way or another related to becoming someone else. But even to take this a step further, for some reason the Villain Alliance decided to give her a contraption which allowed her to siphon blood, suck the blood right out of another person. And we can assume that they made this for her because it was important, not just because she has a taste for blood, but this somehow related to her powers. This is emphasized a little bit later when they basically say that her objective was to take the blood of at least 3 students. Which, as a side note, would be enough evidence to completely ignore the possibility that her powers are simply to draw blood. That there must be more to it. There must be some greater importance, because they wanted her to take the blood of at least 3 students while they themselves weren't concerned with the students at all. And if the order was simply to kill at least 3 students, they would have phrased it in that way, I would have imagined, rather than just consume the blood. Now, keeping in mind that it is very possible to come to the conclusion that she may have the ability to become someone, and if you tie this together with the importance of this machine which allowed her to draw blood from someone else, you can easily come to the conclusion that she becomes someone else through consumption of blood, which is actually, consumption of blood is already something that we've seen previously being associated with a quirk with Stain's own powers. So there you have it. By the end of the school trip arc, it was very possible to predict accurately Toga's powers. But I think that this became almost near certainty by chapter 88. Now, again, getting the specifics right is not easy to do, but the generalities here. But anyway, as of chapter 88, previously her name had not been revealed in kanji, but rather in katakana. And the importance of the difference is understanding of the meaning of her name. Essentially, when written in kanji, they can give you clues as to a character's abilities. In fact, she was the first character to have her name initially revealed in katakana, which by itself should have been curious, as though something is being hidden. This is probably another reason why some characters don't share their real names, such as Dabi. But anyway, so her name in kanji contains the characters for migrate, self, wear, put on, somebody, and child. And so you have the characters for migrate, self, put on, somebody. I mean, that's such a clue. And you already knew it was a clue beforehand because it was hidden beforehand, so your attention is immediately drawn to it once it's revealed, assuming that you know how to read kanji. And when you put it together like that, coupled with the evidence previously of her intent on becoming someone, the only thing that you're left really needing to rationalize is why the consumption of blood was important. And again, if you just assume that by consuming the blood she's able to become someone, this immediately makes sense. In fact, I think it's the only way that this makes sense. And then you go back to the original line dropped in chapter 68 where we first meet her, I want to kill Stainy, I want to become Stainy. This immediately makes sense. By killing and drawing the blood of Stain, as well as just a couple lines before then, she was implicated in serial blood draining incidents, then she can become Stain. She can take on the appearance of Stain. Or as her name explains, she can put on somebody. This was almost 30 chapters before her powers were officially revealed. It's also very obvious that Kohei Horikoshi intended for us to read the clues, or at least made it possible for us to read the clues to find out what her powers were before they were introduced. But this becomes even more interesting because before her powers were introduced, we had an entire arc where we met her and she was there, but we didn't know that it was her, and there was clues for that as well. And so the first of which, and this is not a clue that could have given it away, but it is interesting in hindsight once you find other things, is that when we first meet her, obviously she does not look like herself. She noticed the wind guy, I forgot his name, that he was bleeding, and she specifically states that he's bleeding. And again, this isn't enough, but it's just the first bit of evidence. And then so actually getting into the arc itself, which was not all that long, the first of which is she specifically sought out Deku. And she said, I want to know more about you. And so why this would be curious is there's another character who's shown a lot of interest in Deku, outside of anyone that he deals with regularly, and that would be Himiko Toga. In the school trip arc, you can see her specifically look at Deku, and then afterwards she says that she has found a crush, essentially. And so, that already gives us evidence towards Toga having interest in Deku. Now, by this line itself, I don't think you could jump to the conclusion that this person is Toga, but by the next bit, you will know for sure. And this is when she reveals the ability to shapeshift and take on the appearance of someone else. Now, as previously argued by chapter 88, it should be a boss level theory if you came up with the idea and followed all the clues that Toga's powers involved transforming into someone else through the consumption of blood. And we know specifically from the school trip arc that she consumed the blood of Ochako. And then again, she showed interest in Deku, she has a crush, all of this stuff that we learned. And then apply it to this character that we see in the provisional license exam matches Toga completely. And if there was any doubt about the way in which Toga uses blood to become someone else, this would have solidified it. And all of this about 10 chapters before it was officially revealed in the story. But anyway guys, I know that hindsight is 20/20 and it's very easy to say things after the fact and make it seem clear, but you know, even if perhaps I'm missing some possibilities here, perhaps my train of thought is too narrow and I'm taking for granted the many possibilities that could have existed, I think that it is important to take this information that we've learned, how to potentially think correctly, think like Kohei, and then use that towards other mysteries to perhaps, end up being right. Make a spoiler level theory. But anyway guys, that's all I wanted to talk about today. I had some other plans for other videos that I wanted to make, but I decided on this one just because it felt the most concise and well thought out. But anyway, let me know if you agree or disagree and why. Share your thoughts, like the video if you like the video, dislike the video if you dislike the video, subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content, and as always guys, have a wonderful day.